Voting is a civic duty. Let's register on the electoral list. This is a message from Equinoxe Television.
Good evening to all of you faithful viewers of Equinoxe Television, 6 p.m. in Douala. It's time for the news. We thank you so much for joining us tonight. Our major stories this evening: the war in the southwest and northwest regions, which has been going on for over 7 years now, is having a very heavy toll on the social lives of most Anglophones. Most internally displaced persons are spread all over Cameroon, seeking for security and shelter, living in deplorable conditions. In Yaoundé, in the central region of the country, our reporters met with some IDPs who, besides not having enough food to eat, some tell us they spend nights in open air, sometimes even with their children. Details coming up next. Plus, the Homologation and Disciplinary Committee of the Fecafoot has suspended the presence of Victoria United. The sanctions come after widespread scandals of torture on some players of Opopo. Those are our lead stories, viewers. Details and more in just a moment. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. We told you in the headlines a while ago that the war in the southwest and the northwest regions, which has been going on for over 7 years now, is having a very heavy toll on the economic and social lives of most Anglophones. Most of the internally displaced persons are now spread all over Cameroon and even in neighboring countries, seeking for security and shelter, living in deplorable conditions. In Yaoundé, in the central region, our reporter Cedric Chakuto met with some IDPs who, besides not having enough food to eat, they told him, some of them told him they spend nights in open air, sometimes even with their children.
In tears, Ernestina Fanny is inconsolable because she is requested to repay the sum of 500,000 francs previously borrowed by her deceased brother for occupying the makeshift home from which she was currently being chased.
Je suis en train de supplier le gouvernement que pardon, qui comprend notre pleur. Parce que l'argent que mon frère a prêté, la réunion m'appelle tous les jours que je dois payer l'argent là.
Like her, 17 other internally displaced families from the northwest region, for a total of more than 78 people, live in this precarious shelter.
Group of internally displaced and victims of the Anglophone crisis. These ones particularly are from the northwest region. They came because they were in search of shelter because they ran away from the war. Unfortunately for them, they rented this place. Twice they came and broke them, reduced the place to ruin, and locked them up like prisoners for close to about 24 hours.
These families, who had to pay a rent between 100,000 francs and 500,000 francs, had even received guarantees.
So when they came here, they met a group of individuals, 6 of them, who collected monies from them, rented them space inside here, on conditions that when the war will finish in the northwest, they will go back, or when the next president will be voted into power, he is going to revamp the structure.
However, since then, these families who live in extreme promiscuity with, for example, only one dilapidated toilet, have been threatened twice with eviction by those considered as proprietors of the area. After a summon at the divisional officer's office of Yaoundé 6, they were told that they have until March 7 to vacate the premises.
And they said somebody sent them to come and see me because they came out of the DO's office and they were afraid that they were going to evict them out of this place. This one is a complex avicole. It's the feed production center. It's a defunct feed production center that was abandoned by the state of Cameroon. So how did these people find themselves here?
Contacted by our team, Mr. Nusa accuses a certain Joe of having installed them there under the cover of a former employee of the poultry complex of Vogbeti in difficulties. He adds that the Minister of Territorial Administration had ordered that the field mill of the poultry complex of Vogbeti be evacuated. Therefore, remains to be seen what will happen to the 78 families who live there until now.
Sad indeed. Hopefully those IDPs in Yaoundé get the needed assistance. In other news, mayors and the other locally elected administrative officials in the Southwest region have been drilled on the innovations in the 2025 finance law pertaining to their activities. This was in a seminar which took place in Boya, recently co-organized by the Ministries of Decentralization and Local Development alongside the Ministry of Finance. Rex Arfon tells us more from Boya.
After the signing of the circular for the implementation of the budget for decentralized structures, the government thought it wise to orientate its actors on how to effectively execute the allocations for 2025.
If they are not doing well financially, every other thing will be affected. So in this regard, the Minister of Finance thought it wise that with the signing, after he signs the circular for the execution of the budget for regional local authorities, it was very normal that we come down to explain to the board holders and the public accountants the novelties, the innovations of the law, and how they are supposed to go about the execution of their budget for 2025.
Since most of these local authorities are at the base, it is necessary for them to be at their best, especially with the execution of their projects.
These local actors have to be the pivot of this. They have to realize their projects. They have to make sure that they pay the contractors with whom they work, while making sure that they have the mastery of their level of indebtedness. It's something which the government is really interested about. We do not want to have councils which are so indebted. They have to be able to pay their council personnel, and why not function normally, and wherever need be, step into the shoes whenever we have. Maybe I don't pray for them. We usually have disasters, landslides, and things like that. They have to also be able to manage these emergencies.
New orientations have been given with the hope that the local authorities will perform better than they did in 2024. The seminar, which brought together mayors of the Southwest region, was jointly organized by the Ministry of Decentralization and Local Development and the Ministry of Finance.
Let's now talk health. Pediatric cancer, according to the World Health Organization, accounts for 1 to 2% of cancers in Cameroon. Caring for children suffering from cancer is a painful and emotional journey for most parents. This is the case of Adrienne Bonda, whose child at the age of 6 was diagnosed with cancer. Today, Adrienne decides to share her experience or her story through her book titled Parenthèse Douloureuse. Lucie Liengu is here, tells us more.
Et je me suis vidée des larmes qu'il y avait dans mon corps, mais après que je me sois vidée...
7 years ago, life seemed more like a nightmare for Adrienne Bonda and her family. Their little girl, 6 years old at the time, was suffering from Wilms tumor, a type of renal cancer affecting children.
Qui était pourtant visible à l'œil nu, mais que moi je ne voyais pas. C'est un diagnostic qu'on n'accepte pas.
After her diagnosis, the 6-year-old went through surgery and intense treatment in France for 2 years, including a series of surgeries before she was declared cancer-free by doctors. Today, Adrienne focuses on encouraging and sensitizing patients and families through educational talks and prioritizes the fight against this pathology, which is one of the leading causes of death worldwide.
Mais vraiment, il faut rester positif. Je l'ai vu avec ma fille qui est une guerrière, une battante comme pas possible.
During a seminar she organized here in the city of Douala, she launched her book titled La Parenthèse Douloureuse, which serves as her inspiration.
Comme a dit l'abbé,
in her book, Adrienne Bonda shares her painful experience after her daughter was diagnosed of cancer.
On fait écho là-haut et le Seigneur a suscité.
The seminar, attended by clinical oncologists, surgical oncologists, and clinical psychologists, was an opportunity for the public to be drilled on the causes of cancer and how it can be prevented. During the seminar, breast cancer patients also shared her experience.
When I tell somebody that I have breast cancer, the person will be like, Jesus, means you're going to die soon. That's the thought the society have about cancer. So the patient sometimes might die from depression, not even the cancer.
Recent statistics from the World Health Organization reveal that over 19,000 new cases of cancer are diagnosed each year in Cameroon, with pediatric cancer accounting for 1 to 2% of all cancers.
To the Sanaga Maritime Division, where some road users as well as roadside vendors in Banda are decrying the dusty state of the road, which they say affects their health and also their businesses. The residents say they have made several complaints for the construction of that road stretch to no avail. Mala Glory met with some of the inhabitants of Banda and tells us more about their complaints in a report that comes up next.
Residents of Banda in the town of Idea, Sanaga Maritime Division, are groaning over excessive dust emanating from the abandoned road, posing a risk of respiratory, cancer and other related disease to road users. She recently suffered from cold, just like her child.
Tout est vraiment en mauvais état, sans compter même ma propre santé.
He says his health is at risk with the presence of the dust. Locals now go out with face masks, while those whose houses are close to the road bear the brunt of the dusty road. Traders are obliged to water the stretch often in order to make sales.
On doit arroser 3 fois par jour pour s'en sortir.
The one in Banda, there's no road, too much pothole. We just forced to work there because so many customers live there.
The people blame the authorities for poor governance, while the inhabitants continue to inhale the dust. They urge the authorities concerned to rehabilitate the Banda stretch before the rainy season, which might worsen the already bad road.
And now the president of Victoria United will be out of the stadium until the end of the current Elite One season. The decision to ban Queen Valentine from the rest of the season was taken by the Homologation and Disciplinary Committee of Feka Foods after the president of Opopo intercepted referees from leaving the field. Samalji Khan Gabriel tells us more.
The president of Victoria United will watch from afar matches of his club for the rest of the football season in Cameroon and will have to pay a fine of 10 million francs CFA to the Cameroon Football Federation. This was the major decision that was taken by the Homologation and Disciplinary Committee that sat on February 18, 2025 to homologate matches of the Elite 1 and 2 championships. Queen Valentine was sanctioned because he intercepted the match officials after Victoria United played a 1-1 draw against visiting Dynamo of Douala as they attempted to leave the pitch. This confrontation wasn't the only time that the president of Victoria United was seen intercepting referees from leaving the field after the game. This was the second time, as on January 5, 2025, after Opopo's narrow 1-2 loss to Fauve Azul, the same Queen Valentine stopped the referees to air his grievances. With the decision of the Homologation and Disciplinary Committee of Feka Foods, Queen Valentine has been banned for 16 matches, but has the right to appeal within the next 5 days. Slamming sanctions on Queen Valentine isn't new, as last year he was also banned for stopping a league game after he believed the officials were against his club. The decision of the Homologation and Disciplinary Committee came in when the same Victoria United's president is under investigation for allegedly assaulting and illegally detaining his goalkeeper Eric Parfum Jomini and 2 others on accusation that they were involved in betting activities, which has led to Victoria United's poor performance this far in the league.
Thanks, Matt. And that brings us to the end of the first part of the news. Don't go away, let's move on to Talking Point. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is Kotem Prince Will. He is a youth leader of a movement, the MP3 party. It is the movement for patriotism and people's prosperity. Prince Will, thank you so much for being our guest tonight. Now, you are a youth and you have been mobilizing people alongside your peers to register on the electoral list so as to effect the desired change that the youths like yourself and also Cameroonians want that would be after this year's election. Now, can you tell us what your movement is all about and what you guys have been doing on the field?
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on Equinoxe TV. The Movement for Patriotism and People's Prosperity, the MP3, is a youth-led political party in Cameroon that was founded in 2018, legalized in 2023, and very much active on ground in Cameroon and the diaspora. This is a political party that have as at the heart young people and with the ideology Afro-social liberalism. Afro-social liberalism means inculcating African customs and traditions in our governance system. But this does not mean we're going to rule or govern with according to our customs, but the rules and some pertinent aspects of our culture is going to be inculcated in our governance system. Reason being that looking at our system, you want to realize that even the chiefs and traditional rulers have been merged into politics, but not well structured. And if it was better structured, I think that the political landscape would be a different thing.
Now, Prince Will, let's talk about some vices plaguing the society. You're a youth, and you guys want to effect change in the country. Some of them, like let's talk about tribalism. You have worked with Barrister Keremuna for some time now, and now you are one of the leaders of the MP3 party. What are your stands on vices in the country, such as tribalism? Fortunately enough, you've been following news recently.
Thank you very much. It's very unfortunate that after 60 years of independence, we are still at this spot where we look at tribalism, nepotism, and all those things instead of moving forward. But unfortunately, fortunately, we cannot over-regret this because it is a tool that is used by the regime in place in order to hang on to power. You know, if you don't divide the people, it will be difficult for you to stay in power for 43 years. That is one of the mechanisms that have been used. They have different other mechanisms that have been using over the years. The mayor issue is just a recent one. I remember lastly we had the one of Sangmalima, and everywhere it is the case. But Cameroonian people have to remain united because most of these things you realize that they emerge only during the eve of elections, and people who are reasonable enough will understand that it is not in the place of the Cameroonian people to live apart. But they want to live together. That's why the MP3 in its key 3 of the manifesto talks about a country that resembles us and that takes us into consideration. Because with that, the people will be able to sit and decide what type of state they should live in, what type of form of state we should govern them. And with that, we'll barely see this type of problems because the people will have to decide. And when the people decide, we'll find a place that resembles us, and we'll find a Cameroon that resembles us, and that will push us forward.
Coach Prince, you already began talking about it somehow. Let's go to the Southwest region, where the chiefs of the Southwest recently paid their allegiance somehow to President Paul Biya. They called on him to come and launch their campaign, his campaign in the Southwest region of the country. Do you think such calls can have an adverse effect on the vision of the youthful population of Cameroon?
Thank you very much. The idea is most people do confuse the perception of the term politics. Politics does not mean individual interest. Politics does not mean eating or embezzling money. Or politics does not mean a civil servant being very wealthy more than a business person. But politics means that taking to the interest of general interest and also taking the interest of the community where we find ourselves. Unfortunately, in Cameroon, it is not the case because people do perceive it in a different manner. And at the level of MP3, we have that hold and that grip on stringent measures that will be put in place in order to ensure that politics in Cameroon feels a different sphere and also have a different meaning. Most people don't really understand what it means by a general interest, and so when you have a system like the one in Cameroon, where the regime has been in place for over 43 years, you will not expect anything less because governance has become a place, or has become something where people believe that you have to abide to all the rules that have been put by the regime in place for you to be able, for you to have something to eat, because the regime has actually allowed Cameroonians to be so miserable after 43 years that they don't have options rather than to keep begging on the president to remain there, because the president remaining there gives them more ability to be able to embezzle the taxpayers' money. It gives them that ability to be to keep holding the people hostage, the future of young people hostage, to keep mismanaging taxpayers' money. And that is why you see that today people have to sing the name of the President of the Republic in order to have jobs. Young people have to seek the name, cry and do whatever thing with the name of the President of the Republic in order to be employed. It's not different from the chiefs, where we saw also PhD students have to go down to the street and sit down to cry for the president to employ them. And that is the situation of the country where we find ourselves today. Unfortunately, it's not so, it's something to cry on. But we have, at the level of the MP3, we're doing everything to ensure that by from 2026 we have a government, or we have a state which respects its people. We have a state that respects the rules and regulations of the country. We have a state that respects the constitution of the country.
Kotem Prince, you seem to be very confident with your manifesto, that is that of your party. Now, elections are coming. When you look at the electoral code, don't you think all your efforts can go in vain? Don't you feel frustrated when you look at the provisions of the electoral code in Cameroon?
We are not feeling frustrated as a whole, because we've not seen a program that the CPDM has. And luckily enough, Cameroonians, the minds of Cameroonians are being matured today and are developed, and they understand very well what it means by a presidential election. You know, at the point where we find ourselves, Cameroonians will have to decide if they will have to go over 7 years again in hell. They'll have to go over 7 years again on these same bad roads that we have, 7 years again in blackout, electricity blackout, 7 years again jobless, without jobs, 7 years again with other maybe new set of PhD holders sitting in front of the higher education to ask for job, 7 years again of misery. We are not in any way touched with the way and the mechanism that the ruling party is doing, because we believe that Cameroonians understand by now, they are more matured, and they understand that whosoever will have to rule them will have to present a political program.
Thank you so much, Kotem Prince, and good luck to us all. Hopefully you succeed, and we have you again sometime to talk more about the future of the country. Viewers, thank you so much for being with us. That was what we put together for you today. Our programs continue this evening. Equinoxe will be coming up at 7 p.m. with Sasha Lang and Julien Beth Bissay will be in the studio at 8 p.m. That would be for the news in the French language. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television, and wish you all a blessed weekend. Bye-bye for now.